Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're talking about the comic book shop of the future. What this looks like, what I want from it, what you guys want from it, and see if this is something that's even in our future. As far as being critical of comic book shops, I can't think of anybody else that's been more critical than me. And let's face facts, I've been to a lot of comic book shops. I've seen some of the best shops in my area and some of the worst. The local comic book shop has been a point of controversy for a while now, especially in the last 4 or 5 years. Prices absolutely crazy. Dealers and shop owners not keeping up with those prices. There's a few things that we have to talk about and we can't really ignore. The first being that the comic book shop is truly like a community hub for this. And the funny thing and the ironic thing about all this is that the comic shop owner a lot of times is really like grumpy and like not welcoming, which is completely counterintuitive of this being like a community place to go. So the first thing, the easiest way to make the comic book shop of the future is you have to be willing to allow this to be a community hub. Now, what that looks like, we can get into. Like, what would make a comic book shop friendly for the community? As far as people actually going in and like reading the comics, it's rough because, you know, they could start touching them, bending them, damaging them. I don't know what this looks like exactly. From like a YouTube perspective, it seems like there's a heck of a lot of people that have a lot of opinions. They want to voice their opinions. They want to do this online. They want to make videos. They want to make podcasts about that. So I would first start with giving that opportunity for people. Like, set up something that, you know, a comic book shop, set up a YouTube channel and just let people come on there and talk about this. That to me is something that would be exciting. Like, if like say I had never started a comic book YouTube channel and I wanted to, you know, kind of talk about this, you know, be somebody that talks about these things online, and I had that opportunity at a local comic book shop, I would have taken it. The shop owner doesn't have to manage this or anything, but just give people an opportunity to do that. Just stretch their creative legs and just talk about the stuff. One thing I think a lot of people got wrong and confused about what comic collectors and what the shop of the future should be was this whole like NFT, VR, augmented reality stuff. Like, they thought that was what the future was, like that you were going to get some sort of virtual comic book and then through like AR glasses be able to trade and sell and read and collect these things, and you were going to have some kind of virtual database. I think that is completely wrong because the vast majority of people that are in this are older, 30s, 40s, 50s, and they're not going to kind of do that. They want the physical media. So the physical media is crucial. I think there is a place for a virtual thing. Like, it would be cool to have like augmented reality or VR experiences with comic books at a shop. I don't know what that would look like. I'm not as well versed in that. But like to see like your comic book in like augmented reality or like be able to interact with it would be cool. It would be very novel, and I don't know what that looks like. Like, I didn't know that AI would just basically become like a search engine, and I don't think anybody else did either except those that had the foresight for it. But I think that having some sort of option would be nice. But the digital comics, that's kind of what I'm getting to. Like, you know, Comixology, which I think is now defunct, and Marvel Unlimited, like these digital services for new comics, I think that's what people want. As far as having technology in the shop, having some sort of kiosk that is easy to use, easy to understand, and allows people to order the books that they want, some sort of magazine or physical media to do that, I think is pretty cumbersome. And to not have those services at all is just, I mean, you have to have those services. So I've kind of labeled the different kind of shops, and there's the shops that kind of go like way overboard with just having like all graphic novels, trade paperbacks, omnibus, hardcovers, collected editions. And then there's the ones that are just like all back issues. I think you have to be willing to do a little bit of both. As far as like just having like stocks and stocks of back issues, I think we can talk about pricing now. I think you have to be willing to let things go for less if you're a comic book shop owner, because you want rotating and revolving inventory. Like you can't just continue to sit and sit and sit on all these items for forever in perpetuity until some guy eventually comes in to overpay. I think that's where so many of these shops get this wrong, is just the willingness to sell these things. And you cannot tell me that when they bought this inventory, like they're behind like financially on that. Now, some shops may have overpaid during COVID for like first appearance books, like these big like books that like we've known through time. But to say that all these back issues of these random titles and you're still demanding, $5, $7, $8 for back issues, I just, you got to get that stuff gone. You got to move that stuff. You have to have a reasonable cash flow. And this allows you to buy more collections and to keep new stock. So many of you like to dig, you like to hunt, you like to just get in there and just see what new things have. How many of you have experienced going to the same comic book shops and then the same back issues have sat there year after year after year, time after time? It's boring. You don't want to go and dig anymore. And half the fun is the digging, because comic books are there's just so many of them. I think just that willingness to sell things for a lower price so that you can sell more items, to get more people back in the store, keep people bringing them back. I think that's crucial. As far as the actual comic shop business, is this a sustainable business now? I think it still is, because people still like novelty items. They like retro. They like vintage. I mean, that even the younger generations are still reaching for that stuff. Like Pokemon cards are still a thing. Like the retro T-shirts, like thrifting, shopping at vintage stores, like that's still a thing. Records, like people want this stuff. Like I still do not accept the fact that there's still not a demand for this. The problem has become like too many ratio variants, too many just variants overall, and there's confusion as to, is this valuable? Is this worth paying for? Is this something that I need? I just think there needs to be less of that. And that's not so much necessarily on the comic book shop. That's more on Marvel and DC. And another thing Marvel and DC need to do is get these creators into the community. They need to get these people into the comic book shops. So one of the big gripes from Glenn, the Comic Book Palace, is this disconnect between the people that are the creators and these comic book shops, because these are the people that are selling your books. Back in the day when Stan Lee was broke, before all the MCU stuff, I mean, he would come to your comic book shop. These creators, I'm talking to you, Donny Cates, I'm talking to you, Robert Kirkman, I'm talking to you, Todd McFarlane, even the big names. Go to these shops. Just that should be part of your yearly things. Like, there can't be that many comic book shops left. It's like a semi-tour. Just make appearances. Keep creators coming to your shops. Like, that brings excitement. And this disconnect that you think that you're better, these creators think that they're too good for that or they're too busy. I just find that ridiculous. Like, what could you possibly be doing during your day? Are you being that creative? And as far as that being a financial thing for them, I mean, I feel like that is going to pay off. You're going to sell more books. You're going to do signings. The creators have to get back into these shops. There can't be this. See, that's what makes it so special, is like you feel like you understand, what the creator is doing. Like, having a connection to the creator, is sometimes is just as important as the comic book. And they've injected themselves so much into the comic books anyway. You would think with their ego that they would want to be like a part of the shop and like meet the people that they're influencing with some of their stuff. Like, it's just crazy to me that they're not doing more of that. And they think that they're too big for that. I realize that they go to the Comic Cons and that circuit is, I would say, demanding, I would say. But I mean, you still have to go to these shops. And it's not like they're all old guys. Like, it's not Roy Thomas and Jim Starlin and Chris Claremont. That's not what I'm saying. Like, those guys go to the big cons. They're old. They've made their money. But they could come in the comic shops too. But I'm saying the younger guys, get in there and just, mix it up with the customers. I think that's going to build a community hub. And as far as like the first appearance books, like, the wall book type stuff, comic book shop owners have to be willing to have that stuff displayed for people and let people look at that and have closer eyes on it. It's one of those things, like, so many shops I've seen them put them up in the rafters, or they're just kind of hands-off thing behind glass. You have to be able to show these things to people. They want to see these things. And I realize that that's possibly a big part of your money making, but so many people are wanting that stuff. Having a mix of graded first appearance books and non-graded, first appearance books, that's also, I think crucial too, because certain people want that as well. Guys, what do you guys think the future of the comic book shop is? Is there a future for this? Let me know. If at any point in time you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you like this video, subscribe for more. Take care.